It's always funny to me when someone is out of touch, yet they try to give a commentary on a situation that they clearly have no knowledge of. And now Bill Burr is doing exactly that because he is mocking white conservatives for criticizing Snow White, describing them as the biggest effing babies when he doesn't even know what movie he's talking about. So during his March 27th podcast, he brought up the subject, saying, "One of my favorite things is how each side thinks the other side is dumb, and then each side thinks the other side is a bunch of babies. What do you think people are going to view you as when you're going on a podcast and you're sitting here and you're attacking an entire group of people simply because they didn't like a movie?" Seems pretty weird. Specifically, the right thinks that liberals are a bunch of effing snowflakes, whiny, entitled a-holes, which mean I am. Come on, that's pretty effing true, right? But for conservative people to act like they're not the biggest effing babies is also effing hilarious. What is effing hilarious about this situation, in my opinion, is the fact that you believe that there are not liberals out there who ultimately throw hissy fits over certain pieces of content. They will try to get certain pieces of content banned because they do not agree with them. Because, oh my gosh, there's a conservative actor in this, so we need to cancel them. I mean, you would think that the Mandalorian actor would understand that. Look at what happened with Gina Carano. From there, he railed on white conservatives who have criticized Disney's live action Snow White film, but then he calls it Cinderella, so he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He says, "My people, Whitey, we're all effing upset. There's enough of us to get it going trending anyways. We're upset about the new Cinderella movie. The actress playing Cinderella isn't white. There's no prince. They changed the story. What am I going to tell my kids?" If you are going to talk about something, you should at least know what you are talking about. Because there actually are several race swaps within the Disney live action films, but this was not one of them. Cinderella was played by an amazing actress in a really good movie, at least in my opinion. Same with Beauty and the Beast, and same with Aladdin. Those were really good. Then, of course, we had Mulan, which didn't feature any race swaps, but the story was totally different. And The Little Mermaid had a race swap with Holly Bailey and with Rachel Zegler and Snow White, so he could at least figure out the name of the freaking movie. I feel like there are people, especially liberals, who do this where they will say the wrong name of something to make it seem like, oh, they don't actually care that much about it. And oh, it's really not that big of a deal to them, but it comes across as very intentional. Anyway, he says, "The shit that my people get upset about, what am I going to tell my kids?" Well, effing talk around it the way we talk around the real history of this country. We're talking about a fairy tale, though. Snow White wasn't even originally set in this country. Okay, so why are we talking about the real world in politics and what's going on in a country where the story wasn't even originally told? I think you could do that, he says. We're talking about a movie that is also aimed towards children, okay? I understand that there are going to be teenagers who see Snow White and ultimately adults who are going to go and see Snow White, or as he calls it, Cinderella, but we're talking about a fairy tale here that, yes, is primarily aimed towards younger kids who aren't really going to understand the discussion of like slavery. I mean, he's just going on to talk about how much he hates white conservatives, which definitely is a running theme, of course, in Hollywood. And while Burr might think he's actually funny and he's pointing out some kind of hypocrisy, he's not. The thing he's mocking conservatives for is them noticing that there is a very clear agenda that's being waged against them by the likes of the Walt Disney Company. So if you actually pay attention to the content that companies are trying to feed you, if you actually pay attention to the themes and the patterns that they are pushing with this content, you're just a baby in his eyes, which of course is ridiculous. Now, of course, I'm someone who grew up watching the Disney animateds. I loved Snow White, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas. I loved all of these movies so incredibly much, and it is very sad to see this happen because current day Hollywood is too worried about pushing a message and an agenda over creating entertainment. And this is just a direction that Disney's been headed in for several years. At this point, they do not care about entertainment being escapism. They just care about pushing a message that they believe in, which is ridiculous. And that's why so many people have called them out. And people are not happy with Snow White, not just because of a race swap, but also because they've completely changed the story. They made Snow White fall in love with a potato thief instead of a prince. They have her being a strong, independent woman who saves her kingdom. Why not just write something new and unique instead of taking a story that people loved and hacking it up and slashing it and creating something entirely different just so that you can use the name to put on posters and make money. But that even that has not worked, and it's clear that people have totally rejected this movie because it hasn't even made back its budget, and it's already going in to week 4 at the box office. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on another unhinged rant like this anytime soon. People within Hollywood cannot stand when others are calling them out on their BS, but Bill Burr is mocking white conservatives for criticizing Snow White, even though he calls it Cinderella, proving he has no clue what he's talking about. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.